The Russian media is handing this out, and I wanted to go over it with you. And of course, we got it translated thanks to Google Lens. And this is what supposedly the Russians had offered Ukraine. And in it is some of the things that we did talk about in my video earlier, talking about peace talks, but also a lot of other different stuff here. First is Ukraine would have to recognize that Crimea, the Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Kherson regions belong to the Russian Federation. Then Ukraine needs to fully withdraw from the regions that Russia doesn't have in those part of the regions. Ukraine would have to be neutral, and they would have to refuse to join any military alliances, NATO and EU. No treaties with any other country. Weird. Ukraine will not be able to produce or have nuclear weapons or other weapons of mass destruction. They need to limit their armed forces. You can see what Russia's doing here. They need to ensure the full rights and freedoms of those in Russia, a Russian-speaking population in Ukraine. It's the same jargon they've been using now for over 3 years. Any kind of propaganda against mustache folks, that's gone, even though that's not never was a thing in Ukraine. And then lifting all sanctions. Ukraine doesn't even have the power to do that because it's the West that has the sanctions on Russia. But this is only page 1. Page 2, a waiver of mutual complaints in connection with damages caused during military operation, saying that they're not paying anything. Because, it's not their fault they had to do this, right? Not their fault. Then we start getting into what Russia wants Ukraine to do, which is like, what wasn't it the first part? Ban of redeployment of armed forces of Ukraine. Okay. Termination of mobilization. And the beginning of the removal of their military. What? The end of foreign military supplies to Ukraine. The end of military presence of third-party countries inside of Ukraine, which there's only the International Legion. If you think that other countries are actively fighting for Ukraine, then you're a little loco there. Now, if we scroll down a little bit here, they want to have an exchange of political prisoners. Martial law in Ukraine would have to end. Oh, and yes, there is a page 3. There needs to be a date of elections inside of Ukraine, no longer than 100 days after the end of martial law. Which Ukraine can have elections, I think it's 90 days after the end of martial law, but martial law could only end if Ukraine feels safe, which not right now. And then this stuff right here, which is the stuff that we pretty much went over in our original video, in which Russia is saying in this paragraph, Ukraine, the second that you remove yourselves from the territory that we want, that we don't control, we'll then maybe start a 30-day ceasefire. This whole thing here is just a list of demands, something that not only will Ukraine not sign, the West won't sign. So it leaves us with nothing. Russia is just delaying. I'll be sure to keep you updated, so please do share my videos and follow me for more.